Welcome to Accreditation Unlocked, the podcast where we explore the strategies, tools, and leadership practices that make accreditation meaningful. I'm your host, Dr. Ken Clough, and today we're diving into a topic that's transforming how institutions understand themselves and how they demonstrate continuous improvement through the use of accreditation dashboards. If you've been following Accreditation Unlocked this season, you've probably noticed a theme running through every conversation. Leadership and data are deeply connected. We've talked about how leaders can embed continuous improvement into culture, meetings, and strategy. Today we're going to take that same idea and put it into practice by looking at one of the most powerful tools we have, the dashboard. When done right, a dashboard can move us beyond compliance checklists and into the heart of institutional learning. It helps us visualize progress, identify trends, and connect day-to-day operations to long-term strategy. But too often, dashboards become what I call pretty data with no purpose. So in this episode, we're going to explore how to design and use dashboards that actually inform decisions, not just report results. We'll talk about what makes a good dashboard, how to align it with accreditation standards and strategic goals, and how leaders can make it part of their continuous improvement toolkit. Let's get started. Why dashboards matter in accreditation. Accreditation has always been about evidence, showing that an institution's mission, goals, and outcomes are not just words on paper, but practices in action. Over the years, our evidence has shifted from paper binders to static reports to dynamic real-time data visualization. That shift matters because it changes how we think about evidence. A well-designed accreditation dashboard takes what used to be hundreds of pages of tables and charts and turns it into something living. It lets us see what's happening now, not just what happened last year. And that's powerful, because continuous improvement is about movement, not snapshots. Accreditors are increasingly asking institutions not only to show that they collect data, but to demonstrate how they use it. Dashboards answer that question directly. When used effectively, a dashboard monitors key performance indicators like retention, graduation rates, learning outcomes, satisfaction measures, and more. It promotes transparency, making data available to those who need it most. And it supports institutional reflection, identifying where progress is happening and where attention is needed. But here's the reality. Many institutions already have dashboards, and they don't use them. Why? Because the data doesn't tell a story. It's either too broad, too narrow, or disconnected from the work people actually do. The key idea here is relevance. Dashboards only matter when they align with the institution's mission, goals, and culture. A dashboard built just to satisfy a regulator will collect digital dust. A dashboard designed to help a college learn, grow, and make better decisions becomes part of the institution's DNA. So when we talk about accreditation dashboards, we're not just talking about software or metrics. We're talking about a way of thinking that connects information to improvement. What makes an effective accreditation dashboard? Let's start by asking the foundational question. What makes a dashboard effective? It's tempting to think about the technology, choosing the right visualization tool, designing the right colors, or setting up the right filters. But the truth is, those are secondary. An effective dashboard starts with purpose alignment. You need to be crystal clear about why the dashboard exists and who it's for. Is it to help the assessment committee monitor learning outcomes? Is it to guide leadership in strategic planning? Or to demonstrate compliance during an accreditation review? Each of those purposes will shape what data you include and what you leave out. Here's a guiding principle I often share. If a dashboard tries to answer every question, it ends up answering none. Focus on what matters, data that drives institutional action. Second, effective dashboards focus on actionable data. They don't just display metrics. They highlight what decisions need to be made. If a retention dashboard shows that the first-year persistence rate has dropped by 3%, that dashboard should also point you toward context, perhaps demographic trends, course success rates, or advising interventions. In other words, dashboards shouldn't just say something changed. They should help you ask why. Third, design for clarity and accessibility. Keep visuals simple, intuitive, and free from clutter. Every chart, every color, and every label should serve a purpose. If you need to explain your dashboard for 20 minutes before anyone understands it, it's not a dashboard, it's a database. Accessibility also means that data shouldn't be locked behind silos. A good dashboard can be understood by everyone: faculty, staff, administrators, and even board members. And fourth, effective dashboards are aligned with accreditation criteria. Too many institutions collect data that accreditors never ask for, or miss data accreditors actually need. If your accrediting body emphasizes student learning outcomes, resource allocation, and mission alignment, your dashboard should visualize exactly those things. That way, when it's time to write your self-study, you're not scrambling to assemble evidence. You already have it, living and evolving in real time. Let's summarize. An effective accreditation dashboard is purposeful, actionable, clear, and aligned. It transforms data into a story of progress. Building a dashboard that drives decisions. Now let's talk about how to build one. You don't need to start with expensive software or a data science team. You start with a question. What decisions do we need to make better? That question defines your metrics. If you're trying to understand student persistence, you might include credit completion rates, advising touchpoints, and engagement indicators. If you're examining faculty effectiveness, you might track professional development participation, course outcomes, or peer evaluation cycles. Start by mapping your existing data sources: institutional research, the learning management system, student information systems, surveys, and even budget and HR data. This helps you see where your information already lives. Then, select your key performance indicators. The trick is balance. Too few, and you miss important patterns. Too many, and the signal gets lost in the noise. I often suggest building tiered dashboards. A high-level executive dashboard tied to strategic goals, a set of operational dashboards for academic and student service units, and a set of specialized dashboards for assessment and outcomes. Each tier serves a different audience but connects to the same institutional mission. From there, you build collaboration. Dashboards work best when developed with the people who will use them, not for them. Invite academic leaders, institutional researchers, and staff into the design process. Ask them what they need to see, how they interpret data, and what helps them act. When faculty and staff see themselves in the dashboard, they are more likely to use it and trust it. And then, choose the tools that fit your institution's capacity. For some, Excel is perfectly fine. Others might use Power BI, Tableau, or Google Data Studio. The technology isn't the differentiator, the intentionality is. Finally, treat your dashboard as an evolving prototype, not as a finished product. Build, test, refine, and repeat. The best dashboards grow as your understanding of your data matures. A great dashboard doesn't replace the discussion, it fuels it. It turns meetings from speculation to strategy. Using dashboards and continuous improvement. Let's shift to the practical side. How to make dashboards part of your continuous improvement cycle. Accreditation is fundamentally about learning how well an institution fulfills its mission and how it can do better. Dashboards help to keep that learning visible. When dashboards are embedded in regular institution routines, they become feedback loops. Instead of reviewing data once a year during an assessment report, you're reviewing it monthly or quarterly. That regular rhythm creates momentum. Leaders can start cabinet meetings with a data review, looking at a few key indicators and asking, what's improving? What's slipping? What should we pay attention to next? Committees can use dashboards to guide conversations rather than rely on dense tables buried in reports. Assessment coordinators can identify trends that merit follow-up studies or faculty development. This approach shifts the institutional mindset from compliance to curiosity. Dashboards also make it easier to close the loop. You can document not just the results, but the response. What actions were taken, what impact they had, and how you will sustain improvement. That's exactly what accreditors want to see. And perhaps more importantly, dashboards make your story visible. When it comes time for a self-study or interim report, the visuals themselves can illustrate progress far more effectively than words alone. Imagine showing a chart of improved student learning outcomes over 3 years, annotated with the initiatives that made the difference. That's a narrative of improvement supported by evidence. The continuous improvement cycle isn't just about collecting data, it's about connecting it to planning, budgeting, and assessment. Dashboards are the bridge between those processes. Common pitfalls and how to avoid them. Of course, not every dashboard succeeds. Let's talk about the pitfalls that derail them and how to avoid them. The first pitfall is data overload. When institutions try to measure everything, they end up focusing on nothing. The dashboard becomes a digital junk drawer, full of information but devoid of insight. The solution? Prioritize metrics that are both meaningful and actionable. If you can't envision a meeting where someone makes a decision based on that number, it probably doesn't belong on the dashboard. The second pitfall is misalignment. Dashboards often reflect what's easy to measure rather than what's important. For example, counting attendance at workshops instead of measuring learning outcomes or improvements in teaching. Solution? Tie every metric back to mission, strategy, or accreditation criteria. Each should answer a "so what" question. Third, lack of training or engagement. Even a well-designed dashboard fails if no one knows how to use it. I've seen institutions that invest heavily in dashboards only to have them ignored because the staff weren't trained to interpret the visuals or connect them to their work. The solution? Offer regular training, encourage questions, and integrate dashboard discussions into staff and faculty meetings. Fourth, neglecting qualitative data. Numbers are powerful, but they don't capture the whole story. Surveys, focus groups, and reflections can provide the context behind the metrics. A retention drop may look alarming until qualitative data reveals a curriculum change or economic factor affecting students. Solution? Pair dashboards with narratives. Use visuals as conversation starters, not conversation stoppers. And finally, the biggest pitfall of all, the checkbox mentality. When dashboards exist purely to demonstrate compliance, they lose their power. They become static artifacts rather than dynamic tools. The solution? Keep dashboards tied to strategy and improvement, not paperwork. Make them part of how you lead, not just how you report. Avoiding these pitfalls keeps your dashboard meaningful, trusted, and sustainable. The leadership connection. Dashboards are powerful, but they don't lead people. Leaders do. A dashboard is only as effective as the leadership culture around it. If leaders treat data as a scorecard to assign blame, people will hide problems. If leaders treat data as a mirror for learning, people will engage openly. The most successful institutions use dashboards to empower rather than to control. So, what does that look like? Leaders can begin meetings with dashboard reviews that emphasize inquiry over evaluation. Instead of asking, "Why did this number drop?" they ask, "What can we learn from this trend?" They can use dashboards to celebrate progress, highlighting improvements as institutional wins. They can also model transparency by sharing data across units and inviting collaboration. This is where dashboards intersect with strategic leadership. When dashboards are aligned with a strategic plan, they provide a clear way to track progress and adjust priorities. They connect daily activities to institutional goals and budgets, helping leaders allocate resources where they will have the greatest impact. It's also where leaders can differentiate between being data-driven and data-informed. Being data-driven means you let the numbers make the decisions. Being data-informed means you let the numbers guide your judgment. Accreditation, after all, is not about algorithms. It's about people and purpose. Dashboards should inform human judgment, not replace it. When leaders use dashboards thoughtfully, they create a culture of shared responsibility. Faculty, staff, and administrators see data not as scrutiny, but as support. They begin to view accreditation not as an event, but as a continuous process of learning and alignment. And that's the ultimate goal. Leadership that transforms information into insight and insight into action. Let's bring this all together. A good accreditation dashboard doesn't just show data, it tells your story. It connects evidence to mission and measurement to meaning. When designed thoughtfully, dashboards help institutions see themselves clearly. They make continuous improvement visible. They help accreditors, faculty, and leadership align around the same picture of progress. As you think about your own institution, ask yourself, does our dashboard inform decisions, or does it just display numbers? Is it part of our daily rhythm, or just an annual ritual? And most importantly, does it help us fulfill our mission more effectively? If not, that's your starting point. Begin with purpose, design with clarity, and lead with curiosity. At the Accreditation Collaborative, we help institutions design systems that sustain accreditation progress, including data dashboards that align with strategy, support planning, and tell a compelling story of continuous improvement. If you'd like to learn more about how we can help your institution create dashboards that truly drive decision-making, visit accreditationcollaborative.com. I'm Dr. Ken Clough. Thanks for listening to Accreditation Unlocked. Until next time, keep learning, keep improving, and keep leading with purpose.